Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. I hope that you are all doing well and that you are all having an incredible day to start things off. For those who do not know, or for those who are just waking up, or for those who are just figuring out what's taking place, Bitcoin has fallen, at least at the moment, below the $8,000 mark. It fell 700 US dollars in around course of an hour and a half to 2 hours. As of yet, there is still no reasoning behind the actual fall. Obviously, something took place. We'd have no idea at the moment as to what that could have possibly been. Over the last couple of days, we have heard a number of analysts, and I mean, I'm not talking about the skeptical ones on Twitter, who said that they thought that there could potentially be a move for the price to kind of go backwards and or fall back down at least a tiny bit over the short term, as they felt like that the market had maybe gotten too hot because Bitcoin had gone up realistically around like $5,500 over the course of a 4 or 5 month period. So any type of pullback is to be kind of expected. Any asset that goes over 100% over the course of like 3 to 4 months is still doing relatively well. So even from where we were before, we're still doing completely fine. The market has pulled back. Once again, I just get a bit annoyed because what ends up happening is that instead of actually showing the news or talking about what's happening, even though we do not know exactly what happened, what may have taken place, a lot of websites have made sure that they have thrown the scare tactics out there to tell everyone that the market's pulled back. The market might pull back further. You should be afraid. You should be terrified when there's no real reason for it. It's just a normal market situation. These things kind of happen. I would not be surprised over the next 2 to 3 days, as whenever the prices of anything moves up, when Bitcoin moves up dramatically, people look for reasoning, and they usually find like 5 or 6 different things that happened in the news over the last 2 days before that they can kind of say, okay, this may have taken place. But as far as the price going down, we've already had 2 situations over the last 3 weeks where people were putting out huge sell orders in order to crash the price of Bitcoin or to have it go down. I would not be surprised at all if this third situation was the same exact as the other 2 from before. We had the other one where the price went down, what was it, like I think $1,100 in 30 minutes or something like that, and then almost immediately started going back up because there was just one gigantic whale who was trying to scare the market, and then it happened again a couple of days ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of the third one of the bunch where people are just trying to push back down the price. Anyway, the point is that when the price fell down, it fell down to 7,700 US dollars. We are currently sitting at 7,900. We have recovered a tiny bit. Of course, there are other losses across the wider cryptocurrency market. That is to be expected. Whenever Bitcoin falls, the rest of the market also tumbles. And yeah, without further ado, let us move on. Next up, this one's actually incredibly interesting. EOS holders, voted to reduce the annual inflation rate from 5% to 1% as of the 1st of June, according to data on the voting platform maintained by EOS block producer known as EOS Authority. According to the poll's description, out of the current 5% of annual percent of EOS inflation, 4% is accumulated in the EOSIO.saving account, while 1% is distributed among block producers in exchange for maintaining the network. About 3.6 million EOS are reportedly created and sent to this on-chain account every month, and this number increases due to compound inflation mechanisms. The original purpose of accumulating funds on the aforementioned account was allegedly to have the community vote on how to spend it or even burn it. Still, the proposal claims, and I do quote, however, 8 months have passed and there is still no defined use for this large quantity of EOS tokens that continues to flow into the EOSIO savings account. This large quantity of accumulated tokens has now become excessive, and it will continue to allow it to keep growing. It will eventually become an attack vector for the network. The author of the proposal description notes that it is therefore time to turn off the tap and reduce the level of inflation down. Lastly, the text also notes that the implementation of the new inflation rate would have no effect on the earnings of the block producers. So this is actually quite fascinating because there are a couple of cryptocurrencies, and it's not just EOS, who have voted or have currently implemented high levels of inflation. This is for a couple of reasons. It comes down to one, the idea is that one of the ideas is with the 5% annual inflation, and 4% of it going to the EOS IO savings account. It is there for savings, for a rainy day, should something happen to the protocol, should they need to be able to pay for something, whatever the case might be, updates, protocol, so and so, implementation, new partnerships. This is what the money is for. A lot of people don't like the idea of inflation, and I think a lot of times people don't like the idea of inflation, and they don't like the idea of inflation on cryptocurrencies, and I think a lot of times they lose sight of the fact why we have it, at least for the moment, on cryptocurrencies, especially for things like this. If you are trying to build a new worldwide empire that is going to be built on top of blockchain, you need some type of funding behind the scenes. Even though the people from EOS do have, I think, around 3 point something billion with a B dollars to be able to fund. To be realistic, and this is just kind of how I feel about it, in situations like this when you're trying to replace fiat, you are going up against countries and governments as well. So 3 billion in the long-term scheme of things may not be enough, if I can kind of even say it that way, for what they're trying to do. So the point is, they've actually lowered the inflation rate from 5 to 1%. A lot of people do this to kind of continue lining their own pockets. I do understand the reasoning for wanting to decrease the inflation. I get it. I think it may be a bit too quick. There were other proposals on many other cryptocurrency coins. This is happening, like I said, across multiple coins. It's not just EOS, where they may start out with a 6% inflation rate, and then it goes down about 2 years, it goes to 4, and then it goes to 2, and then it kind of remains at 1. The idea being to have an everlasting inflation rate, because even Bitcoin will have some type of an inflation, air quotes, if you will, into the year 2140, when the last Bitcoin will then be mined. Is that as more people get into the network and more people get into the cryptocurrency space, you want to make sure that there's enough cryptocurrency for them. And this also goes, I mean, doesn't really go against anything. It's just a lot of people like to accumulate assets that are finite, and that there are no more of them, because then you feel like, okay, I'm part of this special group. But the people from EOS and from Cardano and many other cryptocurrencies are actually trying to be world currencies, and they're trying to essentially take over Ethereum. And this is also why you may have noticed before, Ethereum also has an inflation rate, and there is no cap, at least at the moment, for the amount of Ethereum that there will be, i.e. Ethereum will probably continue printing forever, but there are also a number of other people on the Ethereum, in the Ethereum community, who don't like this idea. They don't want the inflation. They want to kind of have a cap on the amount of Ethereum. But it goes against, once again, if something, this is the idea behind it, if something is finite, then not everyone in the world can have it. If you're trying to make something that is inclusive and something for the entire world, then you have an inflation rate of 1, 2, 3, 4%, whatever the actual case might be, so that when more people are born and more people come to this world and more people want to get into the ecosystem, they can all have their own little slice of the pie. There were also proposals before. I don't know exactly if this is even going to continue happening. We haven't really heard a lot about this in the last couple of months from Dan Larimer, or at all, really, as far as the inflation rate that EOS was having for the universal basic income. I feel like maybe that was just something that he mentioned 2 or 3 times as something that was floating through his head. Maybe he's doing too many other things with EOS Voice. Who knows exactly what's going on? But yeah, that's actually incredibly significant. And I was actually pretty shocked that the prices have gone down. So I was more shocked that the price of EOS hadn't gone up at all on the news, that the inflation rate had gone from 5 to 1%. That means a lot less EOS is going to be created by the block producers. Anyway, let's move on. Binance is in the news. It says, I feel like we also went over this once before. It says, Binance has added more trading pairs against the Singapore dollar. The Singapore dollar, the SGD, is now paired with the exchange's own coin, the Binance coin, and Ether. The BNB SGD and ETH SGD trading pairs are in addition to the BTC SGD trading pairs, which were the only trading pair enabled by Binance when it launched in Singapore towards the end of last month. Through the tweet, the Binance Singapore said, you got it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we went over this. This was, for some reason, in the news a lot today. A lot of people were talking about Binance adding the Singapore dollar to their platform. This also ties into this one as well. The popular cryptocurrency exchange known as Binance has recently announced it has launched a new stablecoin called the Binance GBP stablecoin. It's a very long name, or BGBP. This is clearly one step towards offering better services to DEX users and individuals using Binance products. The coin was issued on the Binance chain. It says Binance has just launched a new stablecoin called the BGBP that will be used by customers on the new decentralized exchange created by the company. According to Crypto's Batman on Twitter, Binance issued a stablecoin that is expected to help Binance reach new individuals and customers in the market. So apparently they've launched a stablecoin that is directly tied to the Great British Pound. I guess that ties into the Singapore dollar news. And there was also another... there are far too many stablecoins to remember all of them. I think Binance also just added... It wasn't Paxos. Who added Paxos? Some other coin was added by Binance very recently as well, and I think they're trying to... I don't really get the... I mean, I understand the reasoning for the stablecoins, but there does not need to be a stablecoin for every single major currency that we have on this planet, but it's kind of how it is. So I guess the news is, if you're in Singapore, you can now use your fiat on Binance, and if you are in the UK and you feel more comfortable using the Great British Pound Binance stablecoin for your transfers or swaps, then go for it. Yeah. Next up, the head of Germany's central bank has said central bank digital currencies could destabilize financial systems and worsen bank runs. In a speech at the opening of the Bundesbank Symposium in Frankfurt, Germany on the 29th of May, Deutsche Bank Bundespräsident Jens Weidmann said the widespread use of digital central bank money could have serious consequences and should not be introduced without being well thought through. For one, Weidmann predicted easy access to digital money could exacerbate bank runs in times of crisis. He said, in a crisis, financial stability may be more valuable than it is today. More valuable. Financial stability may be more vulnerable than it is today. With digital central bank money, very liquid and secure investment alternatives. Therefore, both escape to safety in general and digital bank run in particular could take place faster and to a greater extent than in the past. Further, demand for central bank digital currencies could be greater or more volatile than that for cash, with corresponding effects on the central bank's balance sheet. And even in the good times, a central bank digital currency could bring a fundamental shift in the business model of banks, as well as intermediation of the financial market. The central bank chief concluded these thoughts by saying, I see ourselves, the Bundesbank, as having the duty to offer citizens modern, fast, and also internet-enabled means of payment. The idea is to develop solutions that are up to date with the latest technology without incurring unnecessary risks to financial stability. Interesting. This is now another major economy that has come forward to state that they do not think that central bank digital currencies should be issued immediately. This was first of all, we had, I think, about 5 different countries. Not even the central bank or like the country currencies, like the Petro in Venezuela. There were many other countries who were like, their central banks were like, we're going to issue our own digital currency at some point. And I think this is when JP Morgan kind of jumped on, tried to hop onto that train to try and get some of the spotlights on themselves. Since then, I think the head bank of Japan, someone from the International Monetary Fund, I think someone from the G20, and also now the central bank in Germany have all announced that they think that it's not a good idea and that they should wait a bit longer, or rather sometime in the future to be able to create one or have one, whatever the actual case might be. The implementations, what this means for the cryptocurrency space is actually something quite spectacular, because the longer that our coins, our cryptocurrencies, the ones that we use on a daily basis, are the ones that we talk about, are alive or longer, around more, the stronger they become. We see that the every day that Bitcoin is alive or is around in the world, that the network gains a lot more strength than it did even just 24 hours before. More people get into the market, more people get into so and so and so. I do not think that within the near future, within the next year and a half or 2 years, that we're going to have any concrete final plans from any financial institution who's going to be talking about the actual implementation of and or rolling out of their own digital currency. I think it's a lot more difficult than people are letting on. I think a lot of people think that all the government has to do is create a protocol, snap their fingers, everyone's on this digital currency. It goes a lot further than that. It involves downloading apps. It involves, transferring of funds and stuff like that, locking away stuff and moving to a more digital economy. I think that they are not completely ready. And the fact that they are even talking about that there are going to be significant risks if they do launch central bank digital currencies is wonderful for us because it comes down to time. And the more time that we have, the better our system gets. And the more, or rather, the less volatile that it gets, the more people that go into our space, the higher our prices go, the more people that end up buying and hoarding cryptocurrencies, and the more that our economy, our crypto economy, becomes more stabilized. So, I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. And if it does, like I said, time is hopefully our best friend. We need to, if nothing else, by the end of summer, pass by 10,000. If we can hit a $50,000 Bitcoin, that'd be phenomenal. If we can hit a $100,000 Bitcoin, not really holding my breath for this year, it would be lovely. But at that point, we know that we have essentially won, and it causes a huge amount of magnetism towards the cryptocurrency space. Because what he's kind of talking about is the same exact thing that we were talking about before a couple of weeks ago. For those who were not here or were not able to receive that information, just maybe didn't understand what I was talking about before, is that if everything is digital, there are two major sides to it. During a financial crisis, people do something called bank runs, and they go to the bank and they try to take all of their money out because they are completely, they're terrified. So they want to. This happened, and I think it was Cyprus. This was many years ago. It also happened in the States. You can find videos of it on YouTube very, very easily. People were going to the bank during the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, and they were trying to take their money out of the banks. What ended up happening was that they had armed guards standing outside of banks with guns, telling people, no, you can't have your own money. This was a major, huge issue. The idea is, and one of the problems that a lot of people are going to have with central bank digital currencies, without spending too much more time talking about this, is that when we live in a hyper digital world, as we cannot and no one controls our cryptocurrencies, no one controls Bitcoin, no one controls Litecoin, no one controls blah, 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 so and so and so and so and so and so. There's no central point of failure. When it comes to a central bank digital currency that is going to be created by a government power, they will have all the centralized control. And what ends up happening is that should, during a time of crisis, people try to get their money out of a bank, or people trying to, completely panic, how do I save my money? How do I make sure that my money isn't affected by this crisis? I want to take my money out of everything that I have my stuff in. If it's digital and it's controlled by one single entity, they can hit a red button and payments will be frozen. They can use any excuse that they want. Oh, our network was down, our so-and-so, and they could use that for a couple of days to stop people from being able to actually do what they want with their money. The flip side of that is, while that may be a crazy catastrophic event, which is probably, first of all, it already happens around the world without digital currency. So if we have digital currencies and then this does end up happening, it'll cause more people to once again realize, hey, I should probably have Bitcoin, I should probably have Ether, I should probably have Third Coin, as opposed to the central bank digital currencies. And also, I have a very strange inkling, this is just my feeling, that a lot of governments around the world, this is how I feel, are going to create their own central bank digital currencies, and they're going to do it incorrectly, in probably 2 or 3 ways. Either their computers won't be able to handle it, they won't have coded it properly, or there won't be any slight interoperability between themselves, i.e. the entire point of why we talk about the future of Bitcoin and the future of all these other cryptocurrencies is that if I am here, if I'm in Canada and I'm trying to send money to someone in Australia, and I just, what have you, a couple of clicks on the screen, I can send money around the world and it's denominated in that one thing. Countries are going to have a very, 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 very difficult time coming to terms with the fact that they're governments are not going to want to give up their fiat currencies, even if they have digitized them. They're still going to be very reluctant to have a Canadian dollar and try and send it to a euro. There's still going to have to be some type of a conversion. There's still going to be some type of a third party who's going to be involved that's going to also cause fees and cause slowness and cause so and so and so, regardless of how quick or how fast the things might actually be. It's not going to be as mainstreamed and easy to use as the cryptocurrencies that we have right now. And this is why, once again, when we talk about the actual usefulness of cryptocurrencies, it's because if we do at some point in the future, 10, 15, 20, 39,000 years in the future, use Bitcoin as a reference for a price, or the Lightning Network becomes so large that we can do 10 million transactions per second on Bitcoin, and we're all using fragments of Bitcoin, Satoshis, whatever the actual case might be, we can still go anywhere in the world and still be paying in Satoshis. I can be paid in Satoshis. I can give you Satoshis regardless of where you are in the world. This is going to cause a lot of friction. And this is why I think that they're trying in some sort of way to build banking consortiums amongst themselves to be able to kind of get around this. But I can only imagine how many countries around the world are very reluctant to even join into things like this because they don't want their own currency devalued. Because if you have a banker, if you have a country who's trying to take charge and say, no, you use our coin, you use our money, you use our so-and-so, what then happens to our currency? What then happens to so-and-so and so? Like, I don't want my money also devalued because this bully bank tells me and my people exactly what to do. I assume it's very difficult for all of them. I think within the next 3 to 5 years, they'll have some type of a solution. But at that point, we should logically, as analysts are saying, have a $100,000 Bitcoin. And at that point, we'll have so many people in the cryptocurrency space that Bitcoin's price will continue to go up. And then we get to that fabled $250,000 Bitcoin. And you guys all know the story. USA, blah, 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 so on, so on. Let's move on. To kind of finish things up, the company Amero Isatec announced that it will open its first physical cryptocurrency exchange station in Nuevo León, Monterrey, on the 21st of June. It will also soon expand into 7 other locations across Mexico. Amero Isatec estimates that it will serve over 800,000 cryptocurrency users in central Mexico. Users of the exchange will trade in Amero Isatec's own cryptocurrency. The asset launches on the day of the Nuevo León opening. All these accents, my goodness. The firm already made headlines earlier this year for participating in what they called the biggest cryptocurrency real estate exchange. In this exchange, the company secured 1,400 hectares, wow, in South Lower California for $2.8 million paid in Amero. Really? Okay. According to Alfonso Jimenez, CEO of Amero Isatec, there's already an exchange in Monterrey called GTM, but it doesn't qualify as a cryptocurrency service. He said today there's no physical exchange in Mexico and we are going to open them. The point is that it says it's somewhere around here as well. Yeah, apparently there are no cryptocurrency exchanges in Mexico. That's something that I did not know. That's actually completely insane. So the fact that there's a company who's going to be opening up 1 location and then 7 more is pretty gosh darn significant, because if you have no access to nothing, and then you suddenly have 8 different ways to be able to do it. I think it says somewhere inside the thing as well that they're going to try and make sure that they comply as nice as possible. Yeah, with the Bank of Mexico and the international regulations. Hope they do it. Hope they have all their ducks in order, paper in order, whatever, something in order, just so they don't get shut down. I assume that they've been talking with regulators at least for a while. If they've given a launch date that's within a couple of weeks, very cool. I myself am not in Mexico, but I believe everyone should have access to cryptocurrencies, and this is why we also saw. I wonder what this is going to do to. Well, first of all, I mean, it's not really a thing anymore. We were talking about local Bitcoins yesterday, and how they stopped their cash for Bitcoin thing, which is kind of their entire purpose. So we saw like the spikes in volume on local Bitcoins in Mexico. And it makes sense now because they didn't have a cryptocurrency exchange. That makes a lot of sense. They want to be in the market as prices are going completely insane. So I hope this exchange is good. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. There we go. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Professor Wally from Gunbot University, SC Verzley Fine Art, Crypto and Beer Shipmate, Brady Nield, L. Doug, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, Shaolin Fried Rice, Gil, Boa Snake, Crypto Joe, Mohair Maroney, Carl Birchenoff, singer-songwriter Mike Savitz, Rai, Yasha Harari, Amy Starsheen, Jeffrey Ramsey, Crip, Nautic, Clara T. Snowden, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Nicholas, One Earth, One Peace, One Love, Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich the Third, RF Dusty, Cody, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Sam Siri, Vaseline, Jeremy the Photographer, Jim Gardner, Minting Coins, Arthur Yaku, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, and Mechanic. Thank you all very much for your support. At the moment, as you can see, the crypto market is down for those who are not looking at the screen. Bitcoin has actually recovered, and I expected it to recover. I think this is why I get a little flustered sometimes, because when I'm looking for news and I'm looking for stuff that's happening in the cryptocurrency space, a lot of people, I think, fear sells a lot more than hope. So when they see prices, you would not, there's a website, and I've stopped using it, you would not believe some of the stuff certain websites post. If Bitcoin goes down by 0.05%, this website starts talking about the bears are mauling Bitcoin. Can Bitcoin survive the bear attack? The bears have come for Bitcoin's face. And I sit there and I'm like, who is writing these articles? Like they must look at the charts waiting for something negative to happen just so that, because the moment that something, like the moment Bitcoin goes up, they have like photos on their articles of like angels rising into the sky and like kids playing in the grass. And I'm like, who wrote these? Anyway, the point is, at the moment, Bitcoin is at $8,007. I'm expecting a little bit of a recovery. Who knows? We might fall back down. The market can only go up or down. No one knows where the market is going to go ever. The point is, fundamentals everywhere. Bitcoin should still not be below $10,000. We know that this month we're supposed to be receiving exceptional news. NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and Fidelity have all given us indications that sometime by the end of this month or the beginning of July, either they're going to be launching retail investors, money, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the whole story already. So at the moment, the wider market is completely down. Certain coins you can even see on the charts are trying to push themselves back up. I assume the scare is probably over. I assume it's still, I have no idea what the time is in Asia right now. I was going to say maybe people in Asia are still trading. I don't have a clock near me. I can't tell you what's going on. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are. Wherever on this crazy planet you might be, I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. Don't let fear control your life, because this happens all the time. I know people may be getting shaky or rattly. If you sell your coins now and the price goes back up, you are going to regret it for a very long time. Thank you all once again for watching and listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.